Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. It is time for the popular auto show across the river. Chris Ensing tees up the must-sees for us and explains how Trump's tariffs stole some of the spotlight.
You can literally drop into the Detroit Auto Show this year. Organizers want people inside vehicles, focusing on consumer experience as the industry navigates a rocky road. President-elect Donald Trump's 25% tariff threat shading the show's shine.
I talked to the president-elect last week, and he's very aware of how we feel. And look, we're not going to win absolutely everything, but he clearly understands the importance of the industry. He loves Ford.
America's largest automaker telling Trump tariffs are challenging for any company. Their top-selling F-Series pickups are powered by engines made in Windsor. The ups and downs of the industry aside, this auto show has jaw-droppers all over the place. This section lined with luxury showstoppers and a basement honoring the underground scene. Their owners on site to talk about their ride's transformations. Back on the main floor, Stellantis rolling out last year's concept car, parking it right beside the Pacifica. But it's the all-new electrified Dodge Charger taking center stage, this one fresh off the Windsor assembly line.
We're building them, we're driving them, they're going to the customers. It's like, having your baby, right? It's out there and everybody can see it. It's so exciting.
A popular stop on media day, and if you spotted one driving around Windsor late fall, Stellantis' chief engineer of North American sedans was likely behind the wheel.
I have never had so much attention from a car before in all my time working in the industry. I've been stopped at the border many times to turn on the sound system. I think I'm on more social media driving around because people taking videos.
A gas version will be in production, an example of the automaker adapting to the market that highlights the advantage of Windsor's dynamic assembly plant.
The best thing about this multi-energy platform that we have is we have 4-door coming, we have 2 ICE engines, the HO and the SO, a lot of product and variation for people to pick from, right? So we almost have something for everybody.
You're looking at the utility vehicle of the year here, the Volkswagen ID Buzz, an electrified, updated minivan that might have you feeling nostalgic, a feeling this show taps into with a display of scene-stealing vehicles. The Jeep Wrangler from Jurassic Park, Austin Powers' VW Beetle from 1999, and Kit from Knight Rider are on display, alongside Ferris Bueller's Ferrari, the one that didn't plummet to destruction, and Clark Griswold's wood-paneled station wagon loaded with the luggage. The auto show runs until the 20th, 10 to 8 every day. Chris Ensing, CBC News, Detroit.
Here at Windsor's Iris House, folks with serious mental illnesses have a safe place to call home. But financial strain has the not-for-profit calling on the city to unfreeze its funding to keep helping folks like Paulo Tavares.
I love it here because I get good food, a good bed, my own room.
Tavares is one of the 67 people who live here. He has schizophrenia. He says if it wasn't for Iris House,
I'll be on the streets.
City Council doesn't plan on reviewing its funding for the home for another year. It currently covers $60 per resident per day, but the home spends about $73 per resident. That means there's an annual shortfall of more than $180,000. The home relies on donors to make the difference.
Without them, we likely couldn't keep our doors open because they've been really great. But, we shouldn't be relying on donations for operating costs.
The home plans on making its case to City Council on Monday. They say that they need more funding in order to feel secure about their future.
Well, what we were hoping for is small increases every year instead of being frozen. Like we've been frozen since April 2023, and in the current budget it appears that we're going to be frozen again for this year. And each year, of course, with inflationary costs, we're falling farther behind.
The city says it understands it can be challenging.
It's a tough job, they do a great job, and it's not easy, and we certainly recognize that. If I gave an increase in this system, I potentially have to give a decrease to other operators in other pieces of the homeless system as well. So it's the same kind of pressures all the way around. From my organization, our team is sitting there trying to balance the system as best we can. The other big piece that we try to do is advocate through upper levels of government.
Soulier says Iris keeps vulnerable people out of hospital. It keeps them from being homeless, providing safety, comfort, and community. But she worries about what comes next.
I don't see our future because of the big funding gap. It keeps getting bigger and bigger. So it's getting scary too. If we don't get anything from the city, we'll have to sit down and figure out what our next steps will be. We don't know what they are yet.
Colette Kennedy is with us now. Colette, the snow is really coming down out there right now. So what do folks need to know?
Yeah, and what we really need to concentrate on is, well, first of all, it's generally going to be a short time period in which we'll be dealing with this. But while it's happening, there is this winter weather travel advisory. So, yeah, the roadways are going to be a little bit slick, some reduced visibility with that snow coming down as well. No blowing snow alerts. The winds won't be that strong, but they will be enough and coming from the south to provide some enhancement off the lake. So in general, we're looking at about 5 centimeters, but a few areas may actually double that with that enhancement. A couple hours now, actually 3 hours, where we've been reporting that light snow. It's going to keep coming down, at times a little bit heavier as we go into the overnight hours, but not all the way through. I'll give you the timing on it, and we'll look at more specifics in terms of those accumulations coming up.
Sounds good. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Turning now to national politics. 4 days after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his pending resignation, attention has turned to the bid to replace him as Liberal leader. The rules are now out, but who is in the race? Ashley Burke has the latest.
Hi, ready? Another high-profile minister now out of the running to replace Justin Trudeau.
I was really torn about this decision because, to be frank, I think that our chances were really, really high.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister says she wants to be the first woman to lead the Liberal Party, but can't.
Canadians are anxious when they hear President-elect Trump saying and restating again his threats. So I decided to put my country first, and I decided to do my job.
That's why another minister who's now facing calls to reconsider already bowed out too.
I will be solely focused on the real economic threat.
As for those entering the race, a source says former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney is expected to launch his campaign next week. And BC's former Premier Christy Clark told CBC's The House she's considering it too, but wishes there was more time.
We're looking at the rules now before I make a final decision, but I think, we can make this work in the timeline that we've got.
Last night, the Liberal Party released a video setting the date and rules for the race to become the next leader. The entrance fee for candidates is $350,000, and registered Liberals voting are now limited to Canadian citizens and permanent residents, a change made to address concerns about foreign interference.
I am very confident in the processes and assurances that have been given to me, that process will be one that ensures that only people who should be voting and people who we would want to see participating in a Canadian democratic process will be participating in that process.
2 relatively unknown candidates have already said they're running. Others who want the job have to declare it within the next 2 weeks. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now in its second year, the civil war in Sudan has claimed the lives of 15,000 people and displaced more than 8 million. The Canadian government has let in hundreds of refugees from the war-torn country, but they have let in thousands of people from other troubled countries. Some members of the Sudanese community in Canada have accused the federal government of setting a double standard. David Common reports on this as part of CBC's Welcome to Canada series, which explores the views and experiences of immigrants.
Nagwa El Mamoun spends hours each day speaking to the emotional and anxious in her own Sudanese Canadian community. They're desperate for any news the immigration consultant can relay about escape from the war between militias, which has now killed 15,000 in their homeland, leading to war crimes, displacement, and starvation. Some are waiting to escape to Canada. As they do, Nagwa says their hope is dwindling.
We have applicants that died because lack of medication, died because they were killed.
After war broke out in Ukraine, 300,000 Ukrainians were admitted to Canada. From Afghanistan, 40,000. From Syria, 25,000 just in the first 100 days. But so far from Sudan, Canada has approved just 340, and only 55 have actually made it.
While I'm saying to Canada, thank you very much for putting the program together, but if this is humanitarian and compassionate basis, then do what you did for other nations. Get them here as quickly as possible.
Ismail Adam has put money down as required by Ottawa to support his own family's escape from Sudan. The Bay Street tech worker can't understand why the delay, especially as the death count spirals.
It's very problematic and it's racist. Why is
McGill University's head of African Studies, Khalid Madani, is willing to say out loud what others in the community whisper.
We have to be clear about the minuscule amount of Sudanese immigrants and refugees who benefited from this program, and people are dying.
Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada tells CBC News it's committed to a fair and non-discriminatory application of immigration procedures. But it did not explain whether and when more Sudanese Canadians might be able to have their families out of harm's way and with them in this country. David Common, CBC News, Mississauga, Ontario.
The Canadian economy registered large job gains in December, Statistics Canada reported today, far exceeding expectations. Education, finance, and transportation led the way to a net increase of 91,000 jobs, more than triple what economists had predicted. That lowered the unemployment rate by 0.1%. Public sector jobs accounted for over 40% of the increase. Overall, the employment rate rose, albeit amid slowing population growth for the first time since January 2023. A different job picture locally. Windsor's unemployment ticked upwards from 8.7% in November to 9.1%. Windsor continues to have the highest unemployment rate in the country, followed by Toronto. As the NFL playoffs begin, downtown Windsor is looking to cash in on the event. A drone show that was set for tonight has been put off to tomorrow due to weather, but the city rose a flag today in support of our almost hometown team. Jacob Barker got the scoop in the lead-up.
Listen, I think it's great. You're going to have a lot of people come downtown tomorrow. Regretfully, we had to move the event to tomorrow, but I just think it expands the excitement here all weekend in downtown Windsor. And we're going to have lots of people coming downtown to see the 400 drones go 800 feet in the air to celebrate the Detroit Lions, and it's going to be quite a 15-minute show.
We know that it was any time there's a playoff game or a game for the Lions that obviously it boosts the economy of the area. Downtown does much better. Bars and restaurants do a lot better, sports bars in particular, and it really does inject money into the community, and it really does prolong, with them playing longer, it prolongs that opportunity to make that economic benefit.
So you're hoping for a long run here?
I'm hoping for a long run right to the Super Bowl.
It says it all.
It's an amazing feeling. It's really hard sometimes to get across the border or to go to games. So for them to come here, it warms my heart.
The flag is up.
I know, it's beautiful. You know, I would have liked to see a little bit bigger, you know, a 100-foot one, but that one will definitely do.
Do you think it says something about our cities?
I think that it does. It brings both the cities together. I know a lot of people in the States, they come here and we go there, but it does bring us more together as a family. And it kind of puts the smaller things in life to the side.
Now, before we go to break, a slip during a morning walk left Jess Parker with a broken leg. And though people couldn't hear her cries for help, she wasn't alone. Check it out.
My Corgi Waldo saved my life. We're on a routine morning walk and I slipped. Instantly, I felt and heard a loud crack. And I didn't have my phone on me. I looked at my leg and it was pretty gruesome. It truly was like my body was facing north, my foot was facing fully east, and my Corgi Waldo jumps right into gear. He gave me a kiss on the cheek and he ran away, which is very out of character for him. Like, he's always by my side. And I see him in the distance tugging on a stranger's pant leg. Waldo starts barking and leading him toward me. Just as the stranger gets close enough, Waldo takes off in a different direction. And sure enough, Waldo comes around the corner moments later with our landlord and gave me another kiss on the cheek, almost to say, I feel like I'm back, I brought help. The fact that Waldo was able to take action so quickly really made it sure that the situation didn't get any worse than it already was. And, you know, Waldo hasn't left my side. He's been with me this entire time since I've come home. So not only is he cute and smart, but he's a hero too. Thanks, buddy.
Welcome back. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump was formally sentenced today in the case involving his hush money payments to a former porn star.
The only lawful sentence that permits entry of a judgment of conviction without encroaching upon the highest office in the land is an unconditional discharge.
The decision means Trump will not face any punishment at all, but it does not erase the jury's verdict last May of guilty on 34 counts of falsifying business records. It means Trump, who appeared at the sentencing via video link, will become the first president ever to take office as a convicted felon. He's not allowed to own a gun and must turn over a DNA sample. But now that sentencing is complete, he can, and says he will, appeal the guilty verdict. Turning to California now, winds fanning the Los Angeles wildfires eased today, allowing firefighters to make progress. But that progress is only just beginning. The winds could resume, and the damage is already staggering. More images emerged today of entire communities reduced to ashes. The two largest fires have destroyed an estimated 10,000 structures. As of this morning, 10 deaths had been recorded. The Palisades fire is now 8% contained. The Eaton fire, 3%, with a new third fire, 35% contained. And looking ahead, winds are expected to strengthen early next week. And as bad as these fires have been, even more devastation is expected in the years ahead. Susan Ormiston explains.
A smoky dawn reveals LA County's reckoning with deadly fire and changing climate.
This is absolutely an unprecedented historic firestorm.
And it was not out of nowhere. Santa Ana winds expected, but not at near hurricane levels, and they whipped up flames over bone-dry land. Since July, the second driest period in LA in over 150 years.
Normally, we should have a rainy season that begins predictably in November or at least December, and we've had nothing.
Morgan Tingley is a forest ecology scientist at UCLA. He can see the Palisades fire glow from his window.
It's Los Angeles today. It could be Toronto tomorrow and Vancouver the next day. The scale of what we're seeing is global. That is climate change.
The cause of the fire remains unknown, and it continues to be under active investigation.
What ignited the first flames? A mystery, but more explainable why they spread so hot. Scientists report that climate change caused by burning fossil fuels translates to a longer fire season and more intense, especially in Southern California.
The elements all come together to create kind of a perfect storm, and these conditions really allow wildfires to blow up and get really extreme, burn really fast, erratic, hot.
A picture that looks much like this, prompting shock and tears.
I just evacuated my house, packed all my things.
From people who've tried to connect the dots between climate and increasing disasters, this activist posted her frustration, then talked to us.
How many times have I sat here and watched other places, and now this time I am the place that other people are watching? This isn't just wildfires, this is hurricanes, this is floods. We are just the latest iteration and the latest casualty. It is incredibly upsetting. The fact that I can't sit here and say this will be a turning point.
To the contrary, a warning of more to come. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Toronto.
And Earth recorded its hottest year ever in 2024. Weather monitoring agencies say the jump was so big, the planet temporarily passed a major climate threshold. And many scientists see that increase as a tipping point. They say that if temperatures continue to stay that high, we could experience intensifying wildfires, droughts, floods, hurricanes, and storm surges. Last year's temperature broke the previous record set in 2023 by just over 0.1 degrees Celsius. In the 2015 Paris Agreement, 196 countries agreed to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above that of pre-industrial times. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres issued a statement saying leaders must act now to avoid a climate catastrophe. And Colette will be with us right after the break for more on weather. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy is back with us now for more weather. Colette, take us into the weekend.
I would be happy to. And I know, I mean, it's a pretty way to start the weekend, but I know it can make it a little tricky on the roadways if you do have any kind of plans to maybe move from one area to another. By tomorrow, much of this is basically gone. And so it's really just kind of this evening and a little bit of the overnight hours for southwestern Ontario. But here we are, the current temperatures. So a few things happening as this system moves through. It's actually going to be bringing in some milder air because we've had this shift in our wind direction. So that's helping a little bit. Now, there's still a wind chill that we have to factor in there. But the other thing about this shift in wind direction is that it's pushing in off of the lake. And so this time we're looking at lake enhancement coming from south riding to the north. And that's why these areas here, well, it may be not just 5 centimeters, but locally. It's not going to be everywhere, but there'll be pockets where that will be increased to maybe 9 or 10 centimeters of snowfall. Plus, it makes it a little bit tricky on those roadways, and that extends all the way up the Bruce Peninsula in terms of that winter weather travel advisory, okay? Here's the snow coming in. Of course, it's been coming through for going on 4 hours now into southwestern Ontario, continuing to track eastward. We've got more to come, quite obviously, and that's why I've been saying it's going to go through the evening, but it's not really going to last through the entire overnight. I'll play this forward for you, and you can sort of watch that timeline. I've stopped it here at 3 a.m. and even by then we're talking about it having tapered off significantly, still a little light snow from time to time and some flurries, and certainly the cloud cover sticking around. But as we get into Saturday, we'll see some of that cloud deck erode as well, so that by afternoon perhaps becoming even a mix of sun and cloud in there. So that will be nice, although we will have some of that dusting, or a little more than a dusting, on the ground. Just keep in mind as the temperature kind of climbs a little bit towards tomorrow, we may get a bit of melting. Now into Sunday, more cloud cover and another system coming in. That one's going to ride largely to the north of us, so a few flurries is about all I would expect, and that'll kind of be late Sunday into Monday morning. So in general, this is what we're talking about, a widespread 5 centimeters, locally that 9 to 10 centimeters possible. -4 tonight. Check this out. We might even get to 0, might even get rid of that negative as we go into tomorrow afternoon. Will be nice if we can get some sun kind of breaking through. Once this moves through, though, on the backside, those winds do turn back around towards the northwest. Relatively mild the next few days. Be forewarned, though, into next week, the cold will return.
It always does, doesn't it?
Oh.
Thanks, Colette. And thanks to you all for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you Monday.
Good night.